Hi guys, thanks for tuning in, for clicking on the video. I really hope all of you guys are doing well considering everything that's going on. I hope you and your family are good. I hope you're not losing your minds yet and you're still finding something to do with yourself. Hope you're still doing a bit of schoolwork as well amongst everything that's going on. Miss seeing you guys, and it's great to be able to speak to you today. So I've just been asked just to share, I guess, a thought for the day today, just for you guys to think about, to ponder over. So I'm going to share my screen with you. So hopefully you'll be able to see a little PowerPoint and myself. So the title of my thought for the day is Hit the Reset Button. Hit the reset button. So this is my little nephew here, Noah. I absolutely love him to bits. He's just over 2 years old now, and he's so much fun. I'm not quite sure what he's holding there. I think maybe some mat that he grabbed when we were in a shop together. But since knowing him now for over 2 years, you kind of get to know that kids are a little bit defaulted to do particular things. Like, I mean, they don't need to be taught to do specific stuff. Like, you realize quite quickly, if you start to tell Noah that he's not allowed something, he'll have a particular reaction to it. So, like, for example, we were walking through town the other day in Sheffield, and I was walking with him and he wanted to walk another way, and I knew that was going to be bad for him. I knew he was going to walk towards a road and it wasn't good. So I just kind of said, no, we need to go this way, picked him up, and before I know it, it just smacked me in the face. Little haymaker, and I'm telling you, those chubby little fists, they can do more damage than you think, straight into the face. And, you know, other times you tell him, oh, you can't have any sweets. Before you know it, he's rolling on the floor, kicking and screaming, like, you know, having an absolute meltdown. And it's funny because he didn't need to be taught that. It's like, you know, a baby doesn't come out of its mother's womb and just go, thank you, mum, for the time I had in your womb. Thank you for the birth that you've just given me. Like, kids are defaulted to maybe not do the best of things. Like, you don't give a kid their first ever chocolate and they don't say, oh, actually, I shouldn't have another one. It's not going to be good for my waist. I've got a baby pageant coming up soon in the near future. Kids are defaulted for specific stuff. And if you look in the Bible, in this story of this church, or this area, should I say, in the Bible called Corinthians, you'll notice there was this group of people who were really renowned for doing the wrong stuff. I mean, they'd been left alone so long, they had defaulted for so long, they'd been doing some really bad stuff. I mean, they were, you know, having fights all the time, they were stealing, they were, you know, mistreating each other, they were selfish, they were, you know, sleeping around all the time, they were catching diseases, they were doing all kinds of awful stuff. And there's this guy called Paul in the Bible, and he just recently been hanging out with Jesus, hanging out with JC, as you do, best friends, spending some time together. And he'd realized, you know, some ways you can live your life that would benefit you massively. So he thought, I'm going to go over to this area, Corinthians. I don't know if you know an area near you where you'd think, oh, that's a renowned area for being really bad. But he went into this area, Paul, and he was like, I'm just going to try and speak to these guys. I don't want to judge them. I don't want to say anything bad to them. You know, it actually says in the Bible that he just wanted to share the good news with them. And this good news that he had for them was, look, there's a better way you can live your lives that you're going to benefit from. I don't want to just give you some rules to live by just for the sake of it. But if you start, you know, stop being selfish, if you start treating each other better, if you stop going into separate groups deliberately and separating each other, if you stop sleeping around, I guarantee, and breaking up relationships and making things difficult, I guarantee your lives will get better. And this is what God says. This is what Jesus says. So eventually Paul stayed there, not 1 week, not 1 month. He stayed there 1.5 years, just being with these guys, just trying to guide them and help them. And things started to turn around massively in this place of Corinth, of these people called, you know, the Corinthians. And basically, things were looking up, things were looking good, and Paul thought, okay, I'm going to head off. I'm going to now, move on. I'm going to leave you guys to do your own thing. So he head off, he left them. And it wasn't soon after, not soon at all, before he got a letter through, he got a note through saying, Paul, you never guess what? The Corinthians in Corinth, they've started to go back to their old ways. They've started doing exactly all the stuff which they were doing when when you first met them. And Paul's like, oh man, that hurts so much. Like, things were going so much better for them and their families, and they were seeing all the benefits of it. And, he didn't do what most people would do at that point and just gave up. He didn't give up. He didn't write them a really angry message saying, you're horrible people, I can't believe you're doing this. He actually started writing them some letters again, just saying, look, guys, this isn't going to be good for you. You need to think about this again. You need to start thinking about these default things that you keep going back to, that is just kind of built into your nature. It's not necessarily your fault, but if you're left alone and you don't check these things, you don't check yourself before you wreck yourself, as it were, then you're going to go back to these things and it's not going to be good for you. And I realized that actually in crazy times like these, these crazy times that we're in with the virus that's going on, with lockdown, with everything, I realized it's actually quite easy for us to default in these times and default to doing things that we shouldn't be doing, things which aren't necessarily what's best for us, or to be thinking in ways that's not best for us. And I don't know what that is for you guys, but I think some of us need to hit the reset button on some things today. I think we've been left alone for too long. We've left ourselves alone with some things for too long. And I think we've started to default to do some things that we shouldn't be doing, which aren't what's best for us. And I don't know what those things are that we need to hit the reset button on today. I don't know what those things are for you, but maybe that's laziness. Like, I've noticed, like, in this time when we're in the house all the time, when we're inside, it's so easy just to sit around doing nothing. Like, it's defaulted that way, again, in our personalities. Like, we don't naturally too much think, oh, I'm going to go up and wash the dishes for my parents, or I'm going to go and do something. Like, that isn't what's, I guess, that defaulted or natural in us. I'm the same as well. Like, I'm just tempted to kind of sit around and watch TV and not do as much as I should. And I don't know if it's just some specific bad habits that we've defaulted to and we keep going back to, that we need to hit the reset button on and think, no, there's a better way to live. There's a better way to go about it. I don't know, maybe you're starting to default into a mindset of worry because of everything that's going on, and you've let your mind wander on its own for too long. You've let it go off on one, and it's time to realign your mind, bring your mind back to what's true, that, things are going to be okay, that you've got people looking out for you, that stuff maybe is in control that you thought was out of control, and things aren't as bad as you think. Or maybe it's fear again that your mind's defaulted towards, and that's something you need to hit the reset button on today and think, actually, yeah, if I let my mind do its own thing, if I let myself wander off, I default towards worrying. But I need to hit the reset button and tell myself, no, I don't need to be afraid. I don't need to worry because of, all of these reasons. And maybe it's even stuff like anger. Maybe you're defaulting towards because it's frustrating to be away from certain friends, certain family, and I don't know, maybe we need to hit the reset button on that and think, no, it's not doing me any good to be angry. It's not doing any good for me or my family. I need to hit the reset button. I don't need to default on these things and go to them. Because there's this amazing verse I love in the Bible in 2 Timothy chapter 1, verse 7, and it says, for God has not given us a spirit of fear, but has given us a spirit of self-discipline, power, love. To be honest, I think it's slightly written wrong, but it should say that God has not given us a spirit of fear, but of love, power, and of self-discipline. And that means, there's good in you, guys. There is so much good in you, even though, our minds and parts of us can default to do these things that we shouldn't. There is good in you. You've got power in you, you've got love in you, you've got self-discipline in you. And there's ways that we can live better. There's ways that we can kind of stop ourselves defaulting back. And here's the good news, maybe we'll need to hit that reset button a few times. Maybe we'll need to hit it more times than we would have thought or what we would have wanted to kind of stop ourselves defaulting back. But Paul didn't give up on those people who kept doing it and going back. Even after 1.5 years he spent with them and longer, he didn't give up. So if Paul's not going to give up, then I don't think your friends and family and the people who love you the most in your lives are going to give up when you need to reset some stuff in your life, when you need to stop it. I don't think they're going to give up. And most of all, God's not going to give up on you. You know, God's got incredible plans for you. Whatever place you're in your life, whatever's going on, whatever you're struggling with, whatever's dragging you down in your life, God is not going to give up on you. And Paul was supposed to be like God. He was supposed to be doing the work of God when he went to these people in Corinth who were doing terrible things. And Paul didn't come to these people and say, you're awful, you're bad people because you're sleeping around, because you're mistreating people, because you're doing stuff. Paul just said, look, guys, here's the good news. Here's a better way to live. God loves you. He wants a better life for you. And God is saying that exact same thing to you guys today as well. He's saying that, look, I'm not here to condemn you, to judge you, to make you feel awful all the time. I'm just here to say there's a better way for you to live. And hopefully that challenges you today, this morning. Hopefully it encourages you a little bit as well. Because again, these crazy times that are going on, it's difficult. But I really hope that things pick up for you guys soon. I hope that you guys stay safe. And I'm going to be praying for you and praying that God will protect you and protect your families. And I hope to be able to see you guys soon in the near future. All right, you guys, take care and hopefully speak to you soon.